Guys, this is Malorian, and it's been a while, but this will be another Warcaster review. I'm going to come back to Cygnar, and I'm going to be talking about the caster that really got me going when I even first started playing Cygnar. Now, basically, my brother was playing Khador, and he was playing Karchev. It's like, you know what, that Jack caster is pretty cool. Who else can do this? And there was no one who really does like Karchev, but the guy who came close was Darius. And that really made me want to play Darius with a bunch of jacks and all these fun things here. Now, Darius is a very interesting caster. He's very different. And so we're going to be covering him here, really covering his stats, his rules, some tricks, and some of the units you really want to take with him. Now, to start off here, his speed's 5. He's in big, huge armor, so he's not super fast. His strength is 8, whatever. His mat is 6, so, you know, average-ish. He does okay. Rat is 5, and rat for him is actually important because he has kind of a gun that he uses sometimes. Then his defense is 13, so not really the best, but his armor is 18. So he's above the curve. Again, normally on average, if you add your defense and armor, it should be coming to about 30, and he's going to come to a 31. So he's a little bit higher there, and that higher armor can be really nice for when you're just sitting back there and you're worried about guys who are trying to kill you with electro leaps or with blast damage, stuff like this. If you're up against Retribution and they're trying to get you with the mage hunters, right, that can really help you there too, have that little bit of extra natural armor there. So that's really nice. Otherwise, command 8, no big deal. Now he's focus 6, which is all right. Again, that kind of does, for those who fall into the trap of like, oh yeah, he's jacks all the time, realize that he does not have 10 focus or something, so that does really limit the idea of him being a straight up jack caster. Meanwhile though, he does have a gun. His gun is his steam cannon. It is range 12, rate of fire 1, AoE 4, so I mean right there it's a nice thing where you can shoot this thing out and try and scatter it into Kayazi or whatever to try and hit those high defense models, or if nothing else you hit it onto a jack because it is POW 13, so you know it can do some damage to a jack, and if there's things around it you hit that one target and hit the rest of the blast damage. Now, do be careful with this gun. It doesn't mean, like, this isn't Sloan, this isn't Kane, who want to be in there shooting all the time. Range 12 is a little bit limiting, so it's one of those things that when it comes up, make sure you take your shot. But, I mean, don't be putting Darius in the front thinking that his armor 18 will keep him safe. He will die if a heavy or something gets to him, so just remember that you have that shot if it ever does come up. Now, for his weapons, he has 2 melee weapons. He has a little tiny wrench that's power 11, which is, sure, why not? But his other one there is a Quake Hammer. And the Quake Hammer is the one that's actually pretty interesting. It is the same type of thing that's on the Ironclad. It is POW 15, which isn't POW 18 like the Ironclad, but then again, POW 15 can get the work done if you ever need it to. Now, it has crit knockdown, which can be nice because, again, his mat isn't the best. So sometimes you can just boost that first to hit, get the crit knockdown, and then you're just buying attacks and smashing the thing. You can also do a Tremor Star attack. And what that one does there is, again, just like the Ironclad, but what it lets you do is you make an attack against every model within 2 inches. So remember, this is every model, not every enemy model, so be careful about knocking your own stuff down. But really, you do not require a target. You make 1 melee attack, and if it equal or exceeds the defense of any of these models, they're just knocked down. So it's one of these things here too where you might be using him to try and do this tremor attack to knock something else down so that then your jack can just go and smash it easy. So that is something you can do there. Again, Darius isn't normally the guy who wants to get in there and mix things up, but you know, he's not that bad if it really comes down to it. Now, when it comes to his other special rules, this is where you start getting to his little buddies. Because when you get Darius, it's not just Darius. He also has these 3 little half-jacks, his 3 little buddies. Now, with these, he has Activate Half-Jack. So if at the end of your control phase, you can put 1 half-jack into play within 1 inch of him if there's fewer than 3 already there. So basically, if one's destroyed, or if you turn one into a mine, which we'll get to, then what's going to happen there is he just makes another one. And that's great. You know, don't forget this either. You know, sometimes stuff gets destroyed. It's not until later on they're like, oh man, I forgot to put down this free half jack. You know, use these guys. Since you're going to be having infinity of them, as long as you stay alive, you know, send them out there to be, you know, guys in the way if you need to. Because if they destroy one, you're going to get a free one back next turn anyway. With this as well, he's also going to have Crane. Now, Crane is a very, very powerful thing that a lot of people at first don't fully understand. So it's a star action, and what this does here is that a knockdown friendly models within 2 inches of this model automatically stand up. That's nice. Sometimes it comes into play, but honestly, that's not really what you're doing here. Additionally, you can choose one friendly model within 2 inches of this one and place that model anywhere within 1 inch of its current location. So a lot of times I see some new players saying, oh, okay, I get to use this, and yay, for a whole action, I get to move a jack 1 inch forward. No, that's not how this works at all. Within 1 inch of its current location means that if it starts here, measure an inch in front of it, and all of a sudden it's here. So this is like a gain of, depends again on the size of the base of the model, but this is kind of like an additional 3 inches. It can be a very big deal, be it on something where you're picking up a jack and you want to have that extra 3 inches to get in there and get the charge off. So a big thing there. Maybe you're taking a thunderhead and you want to give it some extra threat there. Maybe one of your jacks is kind of starting behind and the charge angle isn't right. Okay, well, pick him up, move him to the side, and then all of a sudden he has that better charge angle, or maybe he wasn't facing the right way. Now he will be facing the right way. This Crane is a great ability. Now, it is a star attack, so whenever you do it, that means you won't be shooting your gun, but that's okay, right? Like I said, the gun's something where it's nice. If you're not craning something, use it, but hey, man, normally, my first turn and second turn, he's going to be craning something to be gaining that extra distance. All right, next one on this card is going to be Detonate. So basically in your maintenance phase, after you do your continuous effects, he can explode your mines. Now let's get to that part there, because we kind of skipped ahead with these guys. These guys, his little buddy, his little half-jacks, they can do 2 things. They have no melee weapons, so they're not going to be charging in and killing stuff, but they can either bodge, so they can go to a jack, get base to base, and they'll just, as a star action, repair 1 point to it. So, I mean, it's 1 point, that seems like nothing, but hey, if you have a jack where its gun is out or its arm is out or something, it's a fantastic way of just, bink, you're fixed. And if nothing else, hey, fix 1 box. If they're starting to get some little bit of damage on your jacks, why not be starting to take it off? The other thing you can do as a star action is that he can go and turn himself into a mine. So you take this guy off the board and you put a little mine token that you get as well with this, and you place it there. And this is where it can get really great, because you can be putting these little mines wherever you think they're going to be coming to engage you, and all of a sudden they can explode. And so let's read about that explosion. So for the Detonate, after, you know, in the maintenance phase, after you do continuous effects, you can detonate any number. And so you can, it's not like if you have multiple and there's guys over here but not here, it's not like you have to do both at the same time. You can choose to explode only the one that they're on. So with that, you can decide to detonate any number of them that are anywhere on the table. So don't need to be in your command range or your control range or anything like that. Center a 4-inch, so good size, AoE template on each of the exploded mines. Remove that mine marker from the table, and then models in the AoE are hit and suffer an unboostable POW 14 blast damage roll. So that is a nice thing again, where if you're worried about lots of things coming up to go and try and bog down your jacks, or if you're worried about things sneaking around your side, it's a really great thing. Just like bam, there's a POW 14 blast to all you guys, and it can really kill a lot of infantry. And this is something too where you just might as well do it. Usually on the first turn, it doesn't really worth it because you're close to yourself anyway, but I mean, I guess you could do it. But anyway, especially starting on the second turn, you might as well move up and make a mine, because then again, every single time you turn him into a mine, the next turn you're going to get a free half-jack anyway. So, I mean, hell, get these mines out there and just have them in a spot where you can start funneling troops and say, hey, you can go here all you want. I'm just going to explode you. So it's a really great thing to have in there. and something that a lot of people just forget to do because why would I want to bother doing these things? Next thing on this card is he can repair. This is another star action, which sometimes comes up again. A lot of times he either wants to crane or something else, but this is another star action. And what it lets you do is, on a skill 9, lets you try and repair one of your jacks, D6. And, you know, hey, again, if you're not doing anything else and there's nothing you want to crane, hey, why not fix something, right? And so it's really nice to have that ability on the card. So that's really it. Like, he has a lot of rules. That card is good and full. All right, let's get to his spells now. Now, his spells, first one is Alcantric Bolt. Now, normally, this is like the spell that you don't really care about, but a very interesting thing to know about Darius is that his weapons are not magical. So, you know, sometimes you start getting some of those incorporeal things coming at you and your caster just attacks them and gets them out of the way. Darius can't do that. And so, pretty much, if you need to kill something incorporeal with Darius, it has to be with Arcantric Bolt. So do remember that. Another nice thing here too is, of course, any jack damaged by this becomes stationary for a round. So sometimes that can be nice as well, where if you want to try shooting this out to make something stationary so it's either easier to shoot or something, sure, why not? But again, that's normally not usually the reason why you're trying to use this spell. One he is going to use is called Fortify. Now, Fortify has to be on a jack. It's an upkeep, and what it does is two big things. One, it's going to be increasing the armor by 2, which, hey, extra armor is always good. The other part of this, too, is that it, and any models or base to base, cannot be knocked down, pushed, or slammed. So this can be really, really big. If you're ever against something like Gorton, or if you're ever up against Epic Kruger, who wants to be pushing you around, nope, doesn't work on me at all. If you're up against Krios and he wants to do a pop and drop, where he pops your front line and then shoots the caster behind, sure, you could do that, but these models here and the ones in base to base can't be knocked down. So it's going to completely get rid of these feats. If there's a drag ability, something like this that's going to push you towards the target, these things don't work. So it's a really nice thing to take advantage of, and just remember those extra things. A lot of times people do it for the plus extra armor, but man, that second part of that spell can be massive. All right, next one here is Full Throttle. Now, this one's kind of interesting because sometimes it's gold, sometimes it's not really worth it. But what it is for a cost of 3, so it's not really expensive, it's not really cheap. He casts it on himself, and what it does is that warjacks in his battle group beginning their activations in his control area can run, charge, or slam, or make trample power attacks without spending focus. So, okay, you know, if you have lots of jacks, need to run first turn, if you do the lots of jacks thing, if you ever have more than 3 jacks, it's better to do this. If you have 3, sure, it's the same thing, and if you have less, you're kind of wasting your focus. Here's the other thing. While in this command's control area, model in its battle group gain boosted melee attack rolls, and this lasts for a turn. So the interesting thing here can also be that boosted attacks. Now, again, you have to really make sure you have enough jacks and you're going to be making enough attacks to make this worthwhile, but this is something where it has situational brilliance. So let's say you have a couple of jacks, you're being surrounded by a whole bunch of infantry, and you want to just trample all these guys down. Well, by casting this spell, you can trample for free, and as they're trampling over all these models, you're getting boosted to hits on all of these. So that's pretty damn nice. Like I said, it really is situational. A lot of times, again, it'd be better off just to go and use the focus on the jacks to boost. Another thing could be is if you only have the one jack, you might be putting 3 focus on it already to buy attacks, and then Darius is going to be casting Full Throttle so that you're basically getting more work out of this jack. Okay, sure, sometimes that comes into play too, but it's one of these things where Don't always cast it and assume it's an automatic thing like temporal barrier or something like that, but know it's on the card and know that sometimes it's going to be the right play. All right, next one on here is Jackhammer, and here's another very interesting one. So what you do for Jackhammer is that a target model in this battle group immediately makes one normal melee. It only costs one, only has a range of 6, so you can't just do this from far away, but this can be another really great spell. If all of a sudden you have it so that they came and jammed you. It's like, how can I kill this jamming stuff and then charge out? Well, what you do is you jackhammer first, kill the things that are right by you, and then what we can do is then charge off on its activation, right? So it's a really interesting thing there. If you want to have a jack that wants to make 7 attacks, you know, it can go in there and make its initial attack, and then you'll go in there with Darius and you'll say, jackhammer, 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 and you can get a lot of attacks out of one jack. Here's another one. Your jack runs all the way over to the target, so normally it'd be out of charge range, but hey, maybe if I run, I can get to your target. Then Darius charges forward, and then jackhammer, jackhammer, jackhammer gets the deal done. So this is a very interesting spell. Another thing, if you're disrupted, right? You can't allocate any focus. Oh man, I can't make all the attacks I need. Absolutely wrong. This is not something where you're allocating focus to it. I'm just casting this spell, and then jackhammer, jackhammer, this stuff happens. Again, here's another situational thing. If you have Epic Iris running into you that normally says, ha, you can't allocate any focus, and my defense is so high, you probably can't hit me anyway. Well, how about this? Full throttle, jackhammer, bam, Epic Iris is dead. So again, these are sometimes situational things, but they're on the card, and they can do a lot of good things for jacks. Now, his feat is also great for jacks. And what it is that Darius or his half-jacks in his ball group, currently in his control area, can each completely repair one friendly faction warjack, which he has, or that's in base to base with one of those things. So this is really, really great. And it's kind of like Abby 2, where what the opponent's going to try and do is try and focus on a jack to completely kill it. But if they ever fail, and if you have a jack that has one box, bam, you pop your feet, and it just gets completely fixed. Now, this is where we get into some of the units that you want to be using with Darius. The biggest one for this that you'll probably see right away is Stormwall. Stormwall has lots of boxes, so it has the best chance where you can get the most from this feat. That they'll go through and destroy tons and tons of boxes, and then bam, you get a brand new Stormwall. Now, here's the problem with Stormwall, and that's the whole idea where you can't use Crane on it. So, for the whole idea of wanting to get in there and wanting to get some extra threat, that part of it won't be there. So it's really up to you how you want to do this. Darius double Stormwall does great. You probably want to always take at least one Stormwall. Darius Stormwall, and then maybe a Centurion, so that you're there to go and move up the Centurion with the Crane, and meanwhile the feat's great with the Stormwall, right? Either way, you probably want to be running at least 2 jacks with Darius. We'll get to where you might want to be running more with his janky tier, but then you want to be having in the rest of stuff. I mean, really, if you look at his card, he's not doing anything for helping shooting or helping melee on warrior models. He only helps jacks. So if you are going to be taking other models, you want things that are normally very self-sufficient, be they gun mages or Black 13th, you know, the usual things are really nice to have, just things that don't need support and can just do their own thing. And then that way, Darius can really focus on the jacks and get that whole thing done. So, with that being said, he also has a kind of janky tier, which actually isn't all that bad. Now, what you have to do in this tier is that you have to take 2 units of Sword Knights, so okay, whatever, take 2 min units, then all of a sudden you're going to be getting the UA for free. So there's some free points. Then after that, if you take at least 3 jacks, and they have to be all heavies, and you have no light jacks in there, well, then all of a sudden, they're all a point cheaper. And this is where the tier can be interesting, where normally you want to be going with storm walls and all these big guys. Well, you know, you might want to be going with a bunch of small ones, right? A bunch of small ones, and then these ones here, you'll get a whole bunch of points free, and sure, you can make this work. Then all of a sudden, you know, full throttle's great because you're running up 6 jacks at the same time. Sure, you can make this work. It's a little bit janky, but I think overall, the more competitive way to run Darius is either 2 storm walls or 1 storm wall, and then probably want to have another jack like the Centurion in there as well. And the Centurion is another great jack where you can put Fortify up onto it. You can put Crane onto it to get further up. And he's kind of like that first line that's going to say, okay, you have to deal with me first before you get to the storm wall. And the nice thing about it too is that Centurions normally have to go, and if they want to put up Polarity Shield, they lose their attacks. Well, when you're running Darius, that's not a big deal, because you put up that Polarity Shield, and if you still want to attack, jackhammer, jackhammer, jackhammer. So this can be another great thing where if you want to get him to position, you crane him up, he walks up, Polarity Shield, and if guys come to you and you want to kill them, okay, Polarity Shield, and you jackhammer those guys and get rid of them. And it's great, and it's a perfect way to kind of make this work. And then when they finally try and deal with your super high armor Centurion, you know, if they don't finish it off, feet, bring it right back. Stormwall's coming in there, taking out that threat, and things can really snowball from there. Or you save it, right? You save that feat. You come in there at the Stormwall, kill that threat, their last heavy comes after the Stormwall, probably fails on killing it, then you feat, kill that heavy, and by then they probably don't have enough to deal with you. So the Darius way playstyle is usually a lot more attrition. It's usually a lot more wanting to make sure that you are absorbing that first hit and then taking out the heavies, and then really they don't have a way of dealing with you after. Of course, anything you can do to increase survivability, if you can get a Junior in there to be putting in Arcane Shield, whatever you can do to make sure that the Jack survives long enough to use the feat, that's the biggest thing. The worst thing you want to have with Darius is that they go after your Stormwall and destroy it in one turn. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there with your feet, and it's like, I can do nothing. And it's basically game over. So it's one of those big things where it's either like you don't kill the Stormwall, and haha, it's all there, and it's a massive game changer, or if they do those few more points and destroy the Stormwall, bad news bears. So really keep that in mind. So otherwise, that's Darius. He's a very interesting caster that really makes the Storm Wall really, really good, and can be pretty powerful. So there you have it, Darius. Give him a try. And otherwise, there's another Warcaster review, and we'll catch you later. Bye.